So I'm a caver, cave diver, and volunteer with the British Cave Rescue Council. And because of this, led me to be involved with the extraction of 12 boys and their coach from a flooded cave in Thailand. The cave is located in northern Thailand, in Chiang Rai province. Here, in this part of the world, there's a monsoon season, and what that means is that for 3 or 4 months of the year, the caves there are completely flooded and impossible to access. So how did a British team become involved in this incredible cave rescue? British cavers and cave explorers have been out in Thailand for many years exploring and mapping these caves. And one of them, Vern Unsworth, lives there to enable his exploration. Vern was very quickly on the scene and recommended the British team be called in. And that's because we have the capability to dive in these sorts of conditions. We dive in the UK often in poor or zero visibility through constricted passages, whilst often transporting equipment through these small caves. Of course, transporting another human being is entirely different. Our team had to be part of this large international rescue effort. We had to work very closely with the US military, who in turn working very closely with the Thai authorities. But despite us being called, our team had to establish credibility. And actually, when they first arrived, they weren't necessarily wanted or even considered experts in this rescue. It took a lot of effort, but when Rick, Stanton, and John Valanthan found the boys and brought back those incredible images, Team UK was catapulted to the front of this rescue effort. And of course, back in the UK, all hell broke loose. The small charity, British Cave Rescue Council, was suddenly thrust in front of the media. Our small charity was manning the phones, responding to media requests. And at this point, myself and my colleague Jason Mallinson were asked to join the rescue effort out in Thailand. Lots of people were looking for alternative strategies for bringing these kids out, including finding another way into the cave. Whether we could drill in was contemplated, but these boys were below 600 or 700 meters of limestone, and although you can drill that deep, it's very hard to locate a small chamber inside a mountain. Of course, pumping was a popular idea. Could we lower the water level? And incredible pumps like the ones up here were used to try and make an impact. And although this lowered the water level in the early part of the cave, it had no impact on the section of the cave where the boys were trapped. Then we considered whether we could supply the boys. Could they stay in this cave for 3 or 4 months until the monsoon season ended? Could we actually carry in enough food and supplies for them? Not realistic. We did take in some stuff, and you can see the equipment we used there, but there was no way these boys could really stay in this cave till the water level receded. And then, of course, the idea of diving them out. An extremely risky idea. There's no way we could teach these boys to dive in the time available. And so the idea of sedating them was hit upon. And I mean the boys being put to sleep so they would wake up safely on the surface. And to make this possible, we brought out these guys. Dr. Richard Harris on the right here is an anaesthetist, and he believed he could sedate the children. Craig Challen on the left is also medically trained. He's a vet. That's rather helpful because Richard Harris was decided to use ketamine, which is also a horse tranquilizer. It's the sort of rescue where we could have had any piece of equipment from anywhere in the world, but despite that, getting what we needed in time was a real challenge, and we had to improvise and adapt a set of equipment that we could bring these boys out with. And what we did was use a full-face mask. We put a single cylinder on the boy, and one rescue diver brought out one child. There was no advantage to having multiple people underwater in this constricted, poor visibility cave system. We put together this system, we practiced this technique, and we went to a local swimming pool. And at this point, we described our strategy, our idea, as having a high probability of multiple fatalities. The Thais were obviously very nervous about giving us the go-ahead, and they came to the swimming pool to actually watch us practice and assess our technique to see if it was going to work. We believed it was our best chance of getting these kids out alive, but it actually took some very brave politicians to escalate this up the hierarchy chain of command all the way ultimately to the King of Thailand to get this operation approved. And what we did each day for 3 days was that the British divers went into the cave with a doctor, and each one of us took one of the boys and swam with them out of the cave. We covered something like 1.5 kilometers, 50% of the time completely submerged, the rest of the time on the surface of an underground river. And when we got back to the rest of the cave, back to the chamber 3, we handed over the boys to the international rescue team there. And at this point, the traditional cave rescue techniques took over. And if you've seen images online of the cave rescue, they're taken from this section after the diving has finished. Ultimately, as you all know, the rescue was successful. And this photo was taken after the boys came out. Somebody managed to sneak in a bottle of Jack Daniels, and we had a little sip. And after this photo was taken, we left the cave, and I had the slightly emotional experience of meeting some of the parents as well. And my final slide is this cartoon that was produced at the time to symbolize the international teamwork that made this rescue effort possible. If you're wondering, the Brits are the Blue Lions. And can you guess who Iron Man is? Elon Musk. Shh. Thank you very much.